Hello YouTubers, this is the Noobifier. Tonight I was live with Paul and Mitauchi on the ASTROPUB. This is a weekly podcast where he takes two community creators and asks them the hard questions. Fair warning, it was recorded live, and there's a risk of some naughty language. I always have a great time live, as it's not my regular medium. And if you enjoy the show, please use the link in the description, follow Paul on Twitch, and tune in Saturdays for more. Don't worry, the channel's not going off the rails, and this is not going to become standard. I felt this was a fun discussion, so I'm posting it up here, and I hope you enjoy.
Hello, and welcome to the first Captain's Table of 2019. This is the new season, new format. My name is Paul. This is a podcast I do with Star Citizen content creators and people from around the universe who want to talk about Star Citizen and, general Star Citizen stuff. Again, probably mostly 60% of the time, but so this new format's going to be shorter. We're going to have about an hour to an hour and a half of discussion and a much shorter Q&A section, and I'm going to split them up into two different sections and see if you guys like that or not. We'll be experimenting with this as we go along, but those of you watching on YouTube, thank you. Welcome. For those of you guys watching live, welcome, guys. And I'm going to introduce the folks who are here joining me here today. First, we've got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. the Noobifier. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And what are you planning on doing in the next couple of weeks?
Hello everyone. Paul, thanks for having me back. Obviously, I always like, Captain's Table. It's lighthearted and fun all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm the Noobifier 1337. I am a redacted content creator. I try to make very, very short to the point videos because to hell with monetization, right?
It's not getting...
You wouldn't believe how little money you make for a $1 or 1 minute video. Anyways, it's not about money for me, and it's not that. It's fun. It's actually hilarious. I love taking something that's super big and trying to make it into as small of a package as possible. We just broke 24,000. Sorry, 42, not 24. Dyslexia kicks in. 42,000 subs. 42 is an awesome number for Star Citizen, so thank you for your support. There is a giveaway going on, the monthly Patreon giveaway. So it's a reclaimer with the lifetime insurance, which ironically was just removed from the roadmap. Thank you for that. Buzzkill. Yeah. I've really been focusing on hardware lately. Not that Star Citizen's not interesting, but there's been that regular drought after Christmas where the community, the developers get together, they figure out what they're going to do for this year, and this is a normal lull in content. So 3.5 is coming. It's super important. I've been focusing on hardware. This is, pedals, controllers, different configurations for what you want to do. So the next video I think I'm going to do is based on the last ATV where they're showing that middle throttle is no gas and forward is forward and backwards is backwards. So trying to figure out what throttles give you the ability to have a bump in the middle, right, at 50%. Mm-hmm. So that'll be kind of fun and a waste of time, but still hopefully useful. Yeah. Just reviewed Monster Tech Simpit. Wow, is that thing ever crazy? Super excited for that. That's a series of videos, so please stay tuned for that. Different configurations. Contacted VKB. Cosmos Sima is coming out. That's their first left and right grip. I'm gonna hopefully review that for you guys.
They have a swap left right grip coming out from VKB.
Right, with a Z, whatever the Americans
Z-twist.
do,
yeah,
Z-axis, right? So they're not necessarily catching up, but they're offering the community what they've been asking for. So everyone knows that I'm friends with Verpal, like I've done reviews for them in the past, and it only seemed natural for me to try to show the community the other side, right? Because you're going to spend $1,000 in controllers, and you should have the right information. So I might be the first person to have a full set of Verpal and a full set of VKB on one table and be able to do an A/B test. And again, both companies are going to get an unbiased overview of exactly what their product is, and they're both top tier. I'm not worried that I'm going to say that one is garbage. They're just going to be, this one's a little bit better than that one for this reason. Anyways, I'm going to go and sum up for that. I feel like I've just
you just gotta let it all go, but it's fine.
Belt fed. So stay tuned. There's a ton of stuff coming. It's exciting.
Nice. And then we've got the Dread Pirate Mitauchi, Scourge of the Seven Seas, and General Space Bro. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And what have you been doing recently? And what are you planning on doing in the next, over this next week and so?
Well, I've been getting zero sleep recently. That's what I've been doing, and playing a lot of new formatted in Twitch called silent streams, where I mute because I'm in deep intel meetings with admins that I cannot share with anyone. So they watch a be right back screen for up to 1 hour plus while I talk tactics and Diplo and all that stuff. And there's still 80 of you crazy people that generally watch me do that. I have no idea why. So it's like literally no sound, frozen screen. I've got to play a video or have like a clown come through or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, we've been I've been playing a lot of Atlas lately, as people know. I have a lot of reasoning behind that, mostly because, as we'll get into, Star Citizen. It's a slow time of year. Still excited about the game. Still love Star Citizen. This is a slow time of the year. But right now, everybody who knows me and why I love Star Citizen, because I'm really a fan of the multi-crew. I want the big ships. I want the big ship battles. I get that in Atlas right now. With all the bugginess and all the stuff there, people are like, oh, it's so buggy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I play Star Citizen. They all go, oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. I get it. So once I say that, they're usually pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, been doing a lot of that aspect. Also been getting some new artwork done and stuff with some artists for the channel. And hopefully by February, we'll relaunch the Space Pro Show. We did one episode for 2019. But like everybody said, the content's not really there to do a lot of review, because Space Pro Show is all about weekly review of development. Nothing's really developed from our perspective, even though I know, sure, they're working hard internally. The presentation of such has not really been there to review. So, yeah. What are you going to do? So
when do you think you're going to be bringing back the Space Pro Show?
I originally thought it would be this month. It might be next month. It'll be when they start producing enough content to talk about. So
justified to talk about. Yeah.
Well, because I feel like there's a lot of hyperbole and a lot of things we can speculate about. Mm-hmm. But with that, even a conversation going on, except for, look at this screenshot I got. I'm like, yeah, we had that 2 years ago. Yell at stuff. Mm-hmm. I know the community is making more content right now than the developers are showing that they're doing. And I know the developer, right, CIG, that they're doing a lot of stuff to make everything happen. Unfortunately, it's a lot of mechanics, a lot of engineering side, nothing flash in the pan to really illustrate to us. Yeah. So I feel like
it's hard to show.
How do you show the flight model without getting in the flight model and flying it? I mean, really, I don't know how to illustrate that. So
just release it.
Yeah, yeah. That's all you can do. There's really nothing. It's like my joystick. I'm still the one over here on the fence after 4 years of backing this project, or 5 years now. I still haven't bought a joystick yet. So
yeah. Now
I'm going to keep you informed. You
are going to keep me. I watch Noobifier stuff, so I know by time the game actually is relevant enough for me to use a flight stick, I'll know which one to buy.
So there you go. So this is where the new format's going to kick in. I'm going to bring up some number of topics, and depending on the week, some of the guests may bring up some topics as they like to. We'll have a general discussion, and we're going to keep it at a hard cap limit of at most 1 hour to 1 hour and a half, depending on how the discussion is going. So for this first part, I do want to bring up the flight model, because it is kind of what we just already talked about, and it's important to talk about. What are you guys' thoughts on the changing the flight model? What does it mean for Star Citizen going forward? Let's start with you, Mitauchi, since you were the last one to talk.
Well, that's also good, because mine will be short, because I'm not really as informed as somebody like the Noobifier's flight model. He's a lot more of a dogfighter than I am, and a lot more interface with all the mechanics equipment associated with. But I do enjoy doing it from time to time anyway. I think the flight model changes are 100% necessary. Will they be the right changes for the game overall? I don't think we'll really know until we have more of the ships in there and actually experience it ourselves fully in a combat situation. And I wouldn't set my stakes on the fact that this will be the only time they redo the flight model, because they've already redone it, what, twice? Like at least once for sure, like a major change.
Not this drastic.
Yeah, this is the most drastic, because before, when they changed it, people forget we didn't even have planets or atmosphere. So this is going to be a major change, and I look forward to experiencing it and see how it interacts with each individual ship. It'll be fun.
How about you, Noobifier? What are your thoughts on the flight model changes?
So I'm really excited, actually. Obviously, I mean, I think that's like everybody. This is the first time since, I would say, 2.4 that I'm actually really looking forward to getting into Arena Commander, because I consider mostly downhill from then. 2.5 was when we first had Star Marine, and that's when they made everything super close. You know, like they changed how Afterburner works, and they got rid of Cruise and a bunch of other stuff. They're basically trying to find their way, and I think it's all that quest of getting the X-Wing World War II kind of look, where you're like pew pew, and you can actually see this beautiful ship. So. Circle strafing was always a thing. I'm hesitant to say that I don't think that this is going to get rid of it. I think that given the right conditions with the right people, we're still going to see it. It's just a natural thing for that cyclic fighter. However, the throttle is, I would say, one of the more important changes, and it's what we got on ATV last week is HOTAS pilots will be able to have middle as 50% of your throttle is nothing, and then you go forward and it's more like a gas pedal forward and then gas pedal back. But if you were to go and pull back, you'd have to cancel it like a blimp. So the inertia is going to be there. They're also making decoupled as a push and hold toggle. Everyone's flipping out over that because it sounds like super different, but I think it would be reckless to think that they won't give us the option in key binding to have that like it was before, where it's click on, click off like a pen. So don't panic about that. The other thing is now we're going to have ships that fly like they look. So if you had something like a Super Hornet, it's got a massive engine in the back, it's going to have massive thrust in that direction. And I think it's going to both complicate and make it interesting. So if you wanted to take into consideration something like a reclaimer trying to land, it takes forever, because if you come in too hot, you're just going to crash, and it has like 1% more thrust than its weight. So imagine something like that, what the implications are if you're trying to take off full. So it's not just dogfighting that the flight model has to do with, it's everything, right? Something like a Cutlass coming in for landing, or you take off at 0.9 G and you're going to land at 1.1 G somewhere else. You may not be able to stop, or you may have to land like a Falcon Heavy, like literally get good. And I think it's so exciting to me, because that's all I've ever wanted from Star Citizen was a challenge. I don't play games for God mode and, shooting people across the map with an aimbot. I really want to have to overcome, or else I might as well go outside and rake leaves. Like, I want something fun to do. So VTOL is a factor that's going to make you choose a different ship, and your VTOL ships are like your Terrapins and your Valkyries and that kind of stuff. The Connie's supposed to have VTOL to a point, but then you got something like a Gladius, which is a conventional fighter airplane, where you're going to have the atmospheric effect, drag, all the lift, and even maybe control surfaces like we had before. So again, really exciting time. I know we're going to talk about the roadmap in the future, but I'm just going to say, like, when all that stuff got moved out, my focus wasn't on negativity, really. It was that hopefully they're going to take all the effort they were going to put into salvage and focus on getting this right. Because I think like SE4 is dormant. I know there's still people playing
SE4. We're not just dormant. We're like middle of winter with bear, like a bear's like on the edge of death kind of of dormant.
And it's understandable. It's perfectly acceptable, because I myself don't necessarily, I can't see myself getting into Arena Commander today and playing. I can't ask orc mates, say, you guys want to go play? Because I don't even want to play. So literally, it's not like there isn't anything to do in Star Citizen. There's lots of, tourism and cities and drugs and killing and all that stuff. But it's not the same as what I think I wanted to do originally. And I'm not saying it's the only thing I want to do, but this is big, and it also is going to halt development for Squadron 42. So now is most definitely the time to get it done.
Yeah, and I think I was going to say, my 2 cents in the whole thing is, before I start, did either of you guys play the flight model at CitizenCon?
No, I did not.
No. I was lucky enough to play it, and I think there's a couple of other folks I've talked to who played it. And from what my experience is that it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's going to be completely ready. This first iteration is going to be a first iteration, so it's going to have problems.
No, it'd be reckless to consider that it would be flawless, right?
I don't think anybody's going to be ever completely happy with whatever changes they make, but they have to make changes. That's where we're at. They have to make changes now, and that's in order to progress both games. They have to make changes.
And the jet ski thing, that was good. What we got at ATV this week, I have no trouble with a bike carving instead of sliding all over the place, because at that speed, having to negotiate rocks but having the ability to turn on a dime like that is a nice trade-off. And again, that's skillful, right? You have to see a rock and anticipate and hit spacebar and know exactly how much height you can actually achieve, whether or not you have to hit the brakes or go around or just go over. And again,
that's cool. And that's what I was going to say, is that what it felt like when I played the flight model was you had to pay attention to where you're flying and how you're flying. Like right now, when I'm flying, half the time I'm just like hand on the stick and throttle, but I'm just okay, little moves here and there. It feels much more like casual, and frustrating when I want to get into the detailed combat maneuvers. It just becomes more bad. Whereas this new flight model feels like you have to be flying your ship. It's not like the ship is just gonna go. If you're not paying attention to how you're flying it, your ship is just going to go off into infinity, and you're going to be like, where the fuck am I? You really have to kind of get a grip on what your ship is capable of and how to manage it and how to manage your ship properly, from what I've seen. So, and when you talked about Noobifier with like the whole idea of like having to force a cutlass to like land vertically and then tip over at the last minute so it doesn't crash, that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I'm hoping to see Starfarers flying backwards into the atmosphere, because that's the only way they can slow down enough so that they can reach the planet.
It's cooler too.
Yeah,
it's way cooler. I mean, it's just cooler overall. Even if you're not a fighter pilot like me, it's way cooler to have to think about those things and manage those things rather than just like, oh, hold N or I'll do this. I mean, it's just cooler.
Yeah,
space breaks, magical space breaks.
Yeah, it's like, like I can fly, and how many times have I panicked and just specced in? And it's like, oh, I saved my whole ship. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
nailed it.
And I think that's the thing. It's like every planet and moon is going to have its own unique characteristics, and each ship, because they have their own thrust ratios and everything else like that, will start having more.
Right. There'll be a reason to choose one over the other, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll know that Cutlass can't land there, but maybe I don't know, a Connie Phoenix can or something. I'm just throwing spitballs out there.
Yeah.
But that's exciting. The whole idea that the whole the expanse, how they have to compensate for G's by turning. And my only concern is they talked a little bit about auto aiming gimbals. I didn't read it as necessarily auto aim gimbals. When I did more research, I went back and there was a statement that you go down a size for gimbal, and then you go down a further size if you want it assisted, like if you want the server blade. So that would be a Saber with 4 size 1s. I'm not necessarily worried about that. I think saber to saber, I could put shields forward and take the damage. But then at the same time, I don't have the advantage of being able to pick where I'm flying and where I'm shooting at the same time, because I no longer have the lateral force that I'm used to. So I think it's going to be like putting guns on a drift car and following another guy and trying to drift at the same time as shooting. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, you got to pick, do I want to crash into the asteroid or do I want to shoot the guy? Like it's going to be skillful.
It's more focus on flying than is gunnery. And I think that was one of the big things that I've always heard from the SV4 guys or anybody who's in the competitive scene was that gunnery was more important than flying, and as a result, flying didn't matter.
But they got to be careful how they scale that. I agree with that on the fighters and the small craft, but if you get up, let's say we start bringing javelins out or something else, or a big ship, and you can scale back the guns a couple sizes, and they have auto aim, and I mean, people take things to the extreme. Then it's a shit show. So I'm okay with that, like he said, with the size 1s, bringing down the gun sizes like that. We just have to be careful how we do that, because then you start adding like, okay, force multipliers, you got 5 ships doing it instead of just 1. So everybody looks at this game like a tunnel vision of one pilot versus another. That's not the overall scope. If that's what it becomes, that's not the game I'm going to play. I want to be in the big MMO, and just like we play in any of these other games, from EVE Online to Atlas or anything else, you get a bunch of little ships with auto aim little AI and shit, because we're playing with AI in Atlas right now. They will destroy everything. Nobody uses cannons fucking in Atlas. Yeah. All of us use, sorry about the F word, everybody uses AI on there, and we use them because they aim better than people.
Yeah.
I command them to fire, but they all, like, literally, I'm sailing a brig with 3 regular people and 20 AI on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't want to see it happen in Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And it's easy button. It's not like, and everyone's going to seek the meta and do the meta. Right?
It still takes tactics because we're sailing the boat and I'm doing the maneuvers and I'm doing all that stuff. It's the same type of things. You're flying the ship, you're doing all this stuff. But if all my guns just fire, say I'm coming in like a Valkyrie and every gun can be AI'd out, it's going to be a total crap show.
No,
I'll get 10 guys with those.
Here's what I think the auto aim discussion was about, based off of what I've heard about and that kind of stuff, is what people have been asking for. Again, in the competitive community, is if you play games like the X series or Elite, often the gimbaled weapons are auto gimbal. So like they'll track the target, but they have a tracking speed of tracking the target. So depending on how you track it, that will reduce things. So you still have players aiming even like you say you're in a Valkyrie, you still have players on the guns, and they can track the targets, but because as they're moving the targets, they have to track it in the proper way. And it's just more of like
that's what happens in Atlas right now, because if I can hold left click and I can choose a target to aim with all my AI, they still have to track it over. I'm just saying it's a slippery slope. And you'll start to take it to where I'm flying a major ship with 1 million little AI gunners on it, and they just kind of like do what they do, and I just have to go around you and just like wreck you. So you have to be careful with it.
Yeah, it's not what we were pitched in Star Citizen from 2013, and that's I think the paraphrase what you're trying to say is if the game is changed, well, the game is always changed, and we accept that it's going to change. But so far, all the things that are happening are fine. This is the one of the ones that is the most alarming, because it sounds like, easy button. And again, that's not what I want.
You're taking away player skill, which is the only thing factor in the game is player skill, because we don't have skill points, we don't have levels, we have player skill, and you start to eliminate more and more of that.
I think what they're doing is that they're moving the player skill from being focused on gunnery, then can you get your guns on target, to more flight. So the guns are still important.
Yeah, that's my point.
Here's the problem with that, though. Is the problem about focusing on trying to do both is that by trying to balance both of them, you end up getting a bland experience. Because flight is important, but you don't want to simplify it so much that it's just literally like dancing around.
I agree with that. I don't want them to simplify flight, but at the same time, what you're going to enable us to do is to put a dogfighter guy inside a javelin, and he just has robots handling it. So the crew doesn't matter. The multiplayer doesn't matter as much. That's why I'm seeing in Atlas. We had a huge tank of player base, because after all the hacking things and things like that happening, a lot of the player base already started to kind of go, oh, there's hacks. Well, that's fine. All I did was take half the number of people, put them in the same number of ships, and stack them with AI, and we're wrecking people. They're full Tims of player base. Yeah. We don't need them. And once you start to have an MMO where you don't need players, and you're catering to the individual who wants to run these huge-ass ships by himself, it's no longer an MMO, right? It's a 1v1, or like we have 5 dudes in my clan, and we're going to wreck a clan of 100 people. It's just doesn't make sense.
I also don't think it's going to be a situation like that. I still think you're going to need player aiming. It's just going to be more like what we had with earlier versions of Arena Commander with player-assisted aiming. And before anyone loses their minds about like auto aim and shit like that, the reality is
I just want to see what it is. I want to see what it is and feel it. But I'm just saying it's a slippery slope. And the more we just open up and be like, hey, it'll be fine, and they keep rolling with stuff like that, that could be dangerous real quick.
And this is a nice segue to potentially the next topic, which is the roadmap.
Yeah,
because all of that was just mysteriously dropped onto the roadmap.
So let's talk about the roadmap. We're going to start with Noobifier, since Mitauchi went last time. Just kind of framing the discussion for those of you guys who are watching this. The discussion often around the roadmap has been like, why are there suddenly new things have been dropped on the roadmap? A bunch of stuff like salvage has been removed from it, and we still have yet to see a 3.7 and 3.8 on the roadmap, even though in previous years they've done, or previous updates, they've done it every, like a month or two after the new patch drop, they would add the next list. But it's been since November, it's been 2 or 3 months since they've actually added any of the new patches in there. So Noobifier, what is your take on this whole debacle with roadmap and everything else like that?
Okay, so straight up, I think it's easy to assume play that devil's advocate and say it's just that they're not back from holidays yet, or they are back but they're not fully together. Source came up with actually a brilliant idea. It's like, well, it's just a roadmap. Why couldn't that have been done even before they went on vacay? And then I returned. I know that CIG every year in January when they come back, they have a big powwow. They pull all the devs from the world and they put them in one place and they literally hash out what they're going to do for that. So there's that pendulum effect. Yes, it could have been done, but why make a roadmap that's going to be wrong? I personally would rather have a basic idea of what we're going to get in 3.7, 3.8 than nothing, because nothing looks like panic. Nothing looks like there is nothing or that there's no idea. So that's bad optics, especially in a fully fleshed out, crowd-funded, open development game, right? There's like an oxymoron there. So Chris came out a year ago, and he said 4 quarters and we'll always have 4. And now we're at a state where we have 2. And I'm telling you right now, I'm okay with it, but I want to know, it would almost be better if they put a caveat up saying, we are working on it, and give us an approximate date, an end date. If it's a month away, fine, but just tell us. And this is always the thing, the transparency, passage of information is the only thing that freaks people out. Now, to invert that, Squadron 42 roadmap came out, and it has muddied our perception of the main roadmap, because some things that were on the main roadmap migrated, because they're actually milestones for Squadron 42. And then the other question as a content creator is, if I see, let's say, player vaulting and mantling on Squadron 42 coming out in, I don't know, around October of this year, does that mean that it will also be put into Persistent Universe, like our other universe?
Yeah.
Right. So again, my God, how simple would it be to say on the Squadron 42 map, this is an objective that will be on both, right? Like just something like that. Or we've finally finished the Gladius for Squadron 42, and then it will also be usable in Persistent Universe. Again, it's all passage of information, and I'm going to sound bitchy here, but you have like 500 people, all of them pulling in the same direction to achieve the same goal, and someone there must be tasked with coming up with this list. The list is generated for the development cycle anyways. So again, I'm not a developer. I don't work there. I know nothing about the process, but from an outsider's perspective, how hard would it be to get the ship statistics correct and the roadmap up to date? Please, not intentionally salty or anything, just critical, right? Critical. That's good. Constructive.
Mitauchi?
Yep. Yeah, I'm a little concerned that they have about as much content of the roadmap as I've played of Star Citizen this year so far, because it does. Even I know they're working hard. I believe that. I've met so many devs over the last 2 years and stuff. I know they're working hard. I know they're doing stuff, but the optics, like what Noobifier was talking about, are so critical now, because they've given this as the template for us to kind of judge where the project is, right? Yeah. And so by this, if I invite my friend Bill tomorrow to the project and he sees all these things, he's like, oh, so they know what they're doing up to end of July. That's it. There's nothing there. And before, they've been we've always as a community been very accepting over all of them shifting things around, all this stuff. I want to see those projections. I want to see the 4 quarters of projections that Chris told us we'd have. I really do. And I think that's important. I don't care if the whole thing changes. We've gone through that before. They shouldn't be worried about like, well, if we put this out there and it doesn't happen, then we got to move everything. You already do that anyway. What's the problem?
That's going to happen no matter what.
That's what I think. What is the problem? Why aren't we doing this? If it's a personnel issue, if like you're waiting for Joe to get back from his Tibetan, monastery trip or whatever, or there's like Philip's like stuck somewhere and he's going through a nasty divorce, whatever. I just make an excuse, tell me something, give me a date, say, hey, we'll have all 4 quarters up there by the end of this month or next month or whatever. We'll accept it. The fact is dead silent on this subject. It's a glaring subject that everybody who backs Star Citizen has mentioned to me at least once over this month. I think it's important to address in some manner. I don't say you have to fix it tomorrow. Just address it, say something about it, and then give us a timeline to move forward. Because this is important to me. This is like my plan for the year. Even as a gamer or content creator, am I even going to be playing Star Citizen like besides just the updates? Is there something for me to get excited about with my community? Is there something to get excited about with my org? Like, what were we going to be doing this thing? I mean, the female character model, woo, finally, great. The flight model, absolutely, you want to feel that. But we all know when they drop new content 3 to 4 months later, nobody even talks about what happened. Yeah,
Ghost Town.
Who talks about what happened? Much less 3 months. Talk about 2 weeks. Majority of people come in for 2 weeks, check it out, and then they're like, if they're not looking forward to something else, they're not spending money either.
Yeah.
Let's be real about that. If there's nothing to look forward to, they're not going to drop money. Nobody's going to drop money on the roadmap of Squadron 42.
Nope.
They're going to wait for the game to come out. People that can get in ships and interact with us now in the MMO, they'll buy ships today to fly tomorrow. You know what I mean? That's what they want to do, and we just need more info here. I don't like where it's at. Again, I'm not trying to be hypercritical. I know everybody's back from that. But again, if I go away from my channel for like 3 weeks, we see what happens there too. Like I go away and play Atlas a little bit more. People get a little bit like, are you even back in Star Citizen now? It's like.
And I'm going to address that as well, because I've been gone for 3 weeks for a vacation, a personal vacation I've been taking. But at the same time, like part of the reason is because Star Citizen is not updating. And I know that CIG is not going to come back for, really full time until February. And I think that's where I'll kind of pop in with my roadmap update. I think that CIG doesn't know what it's doing beyond 6 months out. And as a result, they have to every 6 months sit down and actually plan out the actual rotation. And it was, and we can tell that because the first beginning of the year last year, they had a full schedule. And I saw someone did an analysis where it's like only 20% of what that schedule was going to happen actually happened. Now they did add stuff along the way, but they added stuff 3 to 6 months before it was released to change things out. And so like it seems like poor planning. And it seems like most of the focus is on Squadron 42, and there's not a lot of communication between those two aspects. And especially coming off of 3.4, which is probably one of the best patches that they've ever released for Star Citizen, in terms of content, in terms of playability, in terms of excitement. I mean, the Widow Wars have been.
It just seems like the momentum's gone into the mud, right?
Yes,
like
it just feels like
it feels like it's slowing down.
They ended on a very big upswing, and now suddenly it's.
And I think people are a little gun shy right now. We're scared of a repeat of 2017, right? Where it's like we're all gun shy about that. It's like that time of year. It slows down. We're looking for that pickup, video content, something. Talk about it. I mean, we want to see something happening. Even if it's just optics, even if it's just theory crafting, even if it's just like this is what we planned for the year, but we only complete 20% of it. I'm fine with that. I want to know there's a complete plan beyond what's happening in July.
I mean, Jake Acapello had once said, I don't care what's happening in Star Citizen 3.x. I'm caring about what's happening in Star Citizen, final release 1.0. What is that going to look like? And we still really don't have a good idea about that with roadmaps. I do think, however, that one of the major reasons to a degree, CIG is also learning still about how to do this whole thing. And I think they're getting better at it, but this still seems like a back step. Like they stepped back rather than forward on this planning and communicating. And
I'm a little harsher than that, though, Paul. I mean, the whole optics thing. I think they should have learned by now. I think we're at the phase like this.
Oh, in terms of PR, they should have learned that.
At PR, that's it. I mean, I understand development is development. Yeah. They're inventing shit that's amazing. That's how the experimentation's how we even have planets on this. We weren't even supposed to have planets like we do now and moons and stuff. But optics-wise and PR-wise and how they communicate to the community, I'm over giving them mulligans at this point. That needs to just be happening all the time.
It does need to be happening, but when we're dealing with the roadmap, I think that's directly related to development rather than related to PR. I think the reason why we don't see 6 months out is because they don't know.
No, but PR should push for I think what Mitauchi's saying is. PR knows
should
better
be pushing
that's something we're looking for, and they should be sending an email saying, guys, again, we were talking about it. Whatever it is, go down the actual list, redacted, all the things that are supposed to be secrets, and upload that, because something 80% is better than the 100% solution too late, right? It's like military intelligence. It's better to get the 80% solution out, so people are at least aware of what's coming rather than just saying, well, we're working on it.
Yeah, because if I get if a new player or even an existing player, somebody who even backed in last year, who maybe be vested but not really vested in the game, they're like, they'll look at this, they'll be like, okay, well, I get that, but you should know what you're shooting for beyond that, even if it's not actively being worked on. Because what this, and I guess maybe I'm hypercritical because I used to be a project manager, but like this whole format's always been like a brain boggle to me. Like anyway, because it's like they're doing stuff as it comes, but they're inventing stuff in order to figure out what they can implement, so that way they can track it. Right?
They're
yeah,
pushing
it's
the
like,
stick as they're going.
Yeah, because it's like, where's the end of the building? It's like you're building a long mall, like a real physical mall, and it's like you don't know where it's going to end because you don't know what shops you're putting in it. But we're going down here, and we'll add a a Slurpee shop. Oh yeah, we got a shoe store. Oh yeah, we got this. And honestly, I was like, that's great, but
it's also causing burnout. It's causing player burnout. It's causing developer burnout. In terms of like, because we've all seen the number of developers who have come to CIG and have left CIG. We've heard about them through other media sources and so on and so forth. So having a idea of the end game, of an end goal, is important, right? And I don't think CIG has that. And I think that's
and they might, and that's my argument. They might, but the thing is, they turned around 180 on their communication last year and improved it so much better. I don't want them to see them take a step backwards. I'm just encouraging them. Please don't backslide on communication. Please push forward. I know people are on vacation. I know we had a big win. Everybody's high-fiving, taking vacations, doing all the stuff they got to do. But you can't just say, "Hey, we're not going to have video content because Disco's not here."
Speaking of video content, that's the next segue.
Like the
transitionings. So
that's streamer, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it.
I'm going to start this one since we've kind of gone
Go for it.
Ones. So one of the next subject is talking about the video content in Star Citizen, and then we'll wrap it up and go towards the questions. But one of the biggest contentions in the community has been content for video. ATVs used to be hour plus long. So much information, not a lot of filler. There was a lot of people talking about ideas, but it wasn't like, let's institute like, fan stuff. It was like, hey, we're going to have things like the Gloremaker's Guide to the Galaxy and Witch Glitch and Bug Smashers and all these things, which gave you a peek behind Ship Shape, these peeks behind the scenes of Star Citizen beyond just the news. And they wanted to move it and trying to make that sweet YouTube perfect 10-minute slot, all that kind of stuff. But the problem is that there's one person who seems to be able to produce content that sates the community and gives the community what they care about, and that's Disco Lando. And the fact that Disco Lando's been on break, very well earned. I think he's never taken a vacation until now.
Take 2 months off, no problem.
Yeah, he needed the vacation, so he took the vacation. He's coming back. I think he's coming back now, this next month. But he took the vacation, and he's as a result, I think the video content has suffered. The problem is that why is it that only Disco Lando is in charge of video content that the community cares about? Why isn't the community team and the PR team working with the community or looking at the community, figuring out what they want and delivering them? Because yes, we're a big community. We have lots of different.
Because Jared's a badass and nobody can replace him. And you need the pay raise.
It's the Tyler twins.
Send me the money.
The Tyler twins are also part of the crew, right? And they've done it before. Yeah. I know it's different, but in the absence of, right? Someone has to step up. And again, I'm military, I'm soldier. If my commander gets shot, we have a second guy. And if he gets shot, there's another
guy.
There
anymore? I don't even think about Tyler's there. I think we're down to one Xylo, which
half
is awesome
Tyler?
too.
Yeah, we have Tyler and Ulf. Ulf is the
So I guess let me go back and just say, if you know that there's going to be a 2-month period or a 1-month period, yes, CIG is shut down. That's fine. But again, this comes down to expressing intent. And I think that it's important that people realize, again, I feel like I'm speaking on like salty block on the base radio or something. Sorry.
The hour-long salt
Let
block.
me say that we're not being salty. We're being critical because we love this game and want to see it succeed.
The point is, I guess, is that, and this comes down to money again, and this is where the salt is going to seem to come from. the community has been given the opportunity to donate money through subscription to pay for quality content. That was the pitch. Yes, we get Flare and early access to PTU and all this other stuff, which are themselves bonuses and perks. But the intent is to pay for ATV, RTV, calling all devs, bug smashers, and all these other things. And it's fine. They're saying we're going to scale back, but ATV was a cornucopia of information. RTV, I would say, is even more informative because the questions are asked directly to the person at that moment about the last show. So that's like a TikTok that we really can capitalize. It's like a force multiplier for ATV. So when we don't have RTV, yes, maybe there's nothing to talk about, but that in itself shouldn't be an excuse to just shut her down. And Jared, you are a fantastic resource to the community, so much so that we're talking about you. Right?
Yes.
In your absence, so it's not negative.
We feel his absence.
Right. This whole thing is supposed to be constructive and positive. I know that there are people in the org that are saying, speak with your wallet, and again, we have a funding model where the game is paid for by ships and donations and not to ships. And then there is the subscription model, which is designed to pay for quality content. And even at the meeting today with my organization, I said, don't evaluate by month, do a year, what you get for your $120 a year out of the community, because it does scale with whatever we're able to talk with about at the time, right? So that I always try to put it into perspective, but even when I put that long year worth of perspective on it, 2019 is not good. And I'm not complaining because I'm not able to make videos about stuff that he makes videos about. That's a bonus for me. But it's greater than that. You shouldn't be okay with dropping the ball, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, again, salt, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And I agree. I think the big thing to take away from this is that CIG it wasn't perfect, but its video production was, looking back on it, was better in many cases before than it is now. And Jared shouldn't be the only one who's keeping the community sated with information. And that's a situation. Jared is obviously, and here's the thing about Jared, is that Jared also has done a lot of things for the community. He's taken a lot of questions that the community actually is asking, which is one of the biggest problems that we always had with things like 10 for the Chairman, where they'd ask questions which were softballs and really had nothing to do with the project. And Jared has started that ball rolling of trying to ask real harder questions to people like.
And he does dig deep, right? He digs beyond the questions sometimes to try to get the dev to answer what he knows from being part of the community of that. But I would say also,
and that's why we miss it.
Yeah, exactly. But we shouldn't sleep on Xylo. Now, the reason Xylo doesn't get as much recognition too is because that's only for the readers out there.
Yeah.
Because he responds a lot verbally. He's not in
he's
the
super busy.
He is all over the dev chats. He's all over that. He's in the channels. He's all over the
monthly newsletter. Read the newsletter.
Yeah,
he answers me at 2 in the morning.
Responded. Yeah. If I was on stream and we're just talking about a topic, he'll pop up and there's a magic Xylo popping up in your chat. So he is all over it. I can't say enough good things about Tyler Wickett. Unfortunately, optics-wise, back to like what Noobifier's point is, Jared's going to be more visual because he's the video guy.
Yeah,
that's what we're seeing. And when the video content declines, not saying that the quality ATV is bad, but the fact that we're missing 2 portions of what our weekly content is. I don't care about the length of the video. I miss calling all devs. I miss the interaction of RTV. And that was part of my weekly thing, not as even a content creator, but as a consumer of the game. I expected those things to be there so I can stay what's go up, and I feel more detached from the game when I don't have those things because I don't have that interaction.
Yeah,
so,
and especially, and I'm going to bring this in as well, but I think this is something to do. It's video production, but it's also production in the sense of the gameplay itself. One of the biggest issues that I've been having is it's hard to get excited about the game when they wipe every 2 patches. And like even minor patches, and that is and like the optics are really good for them. Like the way that they kind of present the game as being fun and exciting, and they talk about the community because they bring the community up a lot now in ATVs. Like the first 5 minutes or first 3 to 5 minutes of any ATVs either is the intro and the community, which is important, which is great. But at the same time, it's hard to get invested in the community like the way that they're trying to when everything that those people are doing won't matter in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I also feel like now at this point it's a hollow gesture because it almost feels like I watched the one, like they did a segment on this one on Addicted, and it was just like, hey, look, Addicted did some stuff around Korea. Okay, let's move on. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not saying they should do a huge like fan page of everybody who does something, but I feel like they have now this.
They do. These are
the placeholders of how we do things that worked with the community before. So we're just going to statically make it happen and slot in each bit here, and here we go. Yeah, even the B-roll. We've seen the same B-roll of seeing Scorpion trying out the fly model, and like I can probably count about 12 ATVs now since
every time they bring up CitizenCon, there's a shot of me in there that they always put in there. There's always a shot of me.
Talking about dragging out the hype, like oh yeah, we had this awesome thing happen and we're still going.
3 months ago.
It's like if we're in March and they're like, but it's CitizenCon, I'm like, when's CitizenCon usually happen? It's like, oh, don't worry, 5 months ago it was great. Yeah. It's like there'll be another one in about the same amount of time forward.
Yeah, and so I think the takeaway for this whole thing is that CIG could improve its video presentations, possibly with more content beyond just the 10-minute ATVs, and focus more on the to steal something from Noobifier, the no bullshit kind of content.
I miss so the funny thing is people don't realize this. I never condensed ATV. ATV was fine, just the way it was. The only reason I brought Calling All Devs down and Reverse the Verse is because it could be put bullet form without, so Torque's going to roll over. But basically, I cut stuff out and make it dense. He thinks that I cut too much out, and he's valid. But I always put my own personal perspective on it. But ATV was never a problem. I never cut up ATV because I just thought there's nothing to talk about. You should just go watch it, right? It's fine.
I always got the cliff notes from you, and then I'd go watch the whole thing. And
that's what you should do because I'm like reckless.
You're the cliff notes. It's like if I'm terrible at reading books, like I was in high school, always. I got the cliff notes.
Noob is the Wikipedia of all Star Citizen content.
He's the wiki.
If I was a butcher, I would cut.
You go to him first, and then if it's interesting, you follow the link to the actual content.
I am brutal with some of this stuff. Like if it's female model and I know it's not coming out for 2 years, I won't even talk about it. You know, and that's a bad example because obviously female model is coming out right now. But 2 years ago when they were talking about female model, wasn't interesting. Sorry, guys. Yeah,
no, I agree. So the last thing I want to talk about, which is going to take about 5 minutes each, is let's start with you, Mitauchi. We'll go to Noobifier, and then I'll give my own. Mitauchi, so what are your expectations for 2019 going forward? What are some things you'd like to see in Star Citizen between now and the end of the year?
I'd have to say a couple of the things I'd like to see is I'd like to see a focus back on some sort of persistent thing, like what you're talking about with all the resets. As much as they talk about ship rentals and how to secure this and blah, 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 if they reset every 2 weeks or every month, it's kind of pointless. Nobody feels like making money or generating anything if they know they can never achieve a goal of renting a ship to do anything with. You feel like there's no progression. And I understand we're an alpha. I understand that. But people still want and desire some sort of progression. They want to earn enough money to get that suit they want. They want to earn enough money to rent a prospector to be able to go out and experience mining for the first time. They want to be able to do these things. They don't want you to necessarily hand it to them. And I get that, like the free ship thing and all that stuff. But I mean, even I own a Hammerhead. I would like to see how much effort does it take for me to earn a Hammerhead with a group of people. And there's two things that will enable that. One is persistency to allow longer terms before at least wallet resets and stuff. And number two, more group and organizational support, right? Like the party system's a great little tick that they're trying to fix in game, but we have no guild system. We still have, and they keep talking about Guild 2.0 or Company 2.0 and all this stuff. But the guild system they keep talking about is like your guild relationship with NPCs.
Yeah.
And that's great. but the game's not persistent enough for us to care about reputation and lore and all that crap. If they don't address persistency and something that lasts, am I going to want to grind missions to get rep with this group for any reason to earn more money or do anything? No. I mean, honest to God, I'm not going to give two shits about going out and grinding and doing missions for Joe's org. It's an NPC org, so I can get better rep to get better rates at their station if it's going to reset in a week.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And
I mean,
the other thing
criminality too, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Like criminality, right? Like, okay, if I'm a pirate, I don't care. Next week I get reset. Who cares if I have to grind a million people? I'll just play this week,
no consequences,
and not play till next week when they reset it. Persistency has to happen. Yeah. I mean, it has to be more real and relevant in the game.
I was going to say one of the things that to add on to your points, and I'll cover my own points here in a second, but is the fact that there is no way to earn money as a group. You can get in a group of people, but it doesn't matter. Yep. Like you can take a mission.
Trade you.
Yeah, there's no money exchange. There's a lot of basic features that are missing that would bring a lot more, even just a basic work in progress thing that they could slap on top would make the game a lot more entertaining until they can get the full systems fleshed out.
Yeah.
All right. So how about you, Noob? What are you looking forward to in 2019? What do you think Star Citizen has to have in 2019, in your opinion?
So obviously, I think I am biased. They should focus on flight model. That has to come out. That'll kill the game for me. Again, no salt, but constructive criticism. I'm not saying something they don't already know, so I feel like a bit of a tool by saying that, stating the obvious. Polished mining. That to me, that's super important. An operational vulture, which will give us the ability to do basic salvage. That's like the starting point. And then an operational Vulcan, which is the basic fuel mechanic. I don't even care if the Starfarer isn't functional, as long as the baby steps like version 1, version 2, version 3. Any ability to transfer cargo to a truck stop or station when it's just docked without landing, that would let us get a Hull C asset in-game flyable. It doesn't need to be collapsible, but to me, that's an important ship to put out there. And then whenever they figure out this double physics zone thing, then make it collapse, because we've had other ships that have mechanics that don't work, like the Connie's flying around and it has a snub fighter that can't be undocked. So what's the difference with putting a non-collapsible Hull C? Just food for thought. Yeah. And then where I would like this is going to be counterintuitive, because I really want the game to be continuing to be funded properly. But at the same time, I would love to see some $60 industry ships, right? Yeah. Something affordable, so not necessarily something less than a Prospector, but it would have been really cool if the Prospector was hovering around 90 instead of 155, because that seems to be that, wait, what, mark? Because 155 is definitely more than a normal game, and it's harder to justify to a new citizen coming in, because they're going to buy their Aurora, and then they're going to want to do mining, and then you're going to tell them what? You can go get some Widow in your Aurora? Sorry, you're not buying that ship in game. You're going to pony up, and that's a kick in the pants. So anyways, hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, no, it's good. I just wanted to get your own personal takes in 2019. And for me personally, the major thing they need to do is they need to make it so that they can start working on the economy. Because the economy is the central point of everything. If they can't get the economy started in a meaningful way with AI and background calculations and those kind of things, then this game is essentially just stalling on the start block. The second thing I think that needs to happen is they need to have at least one major gameplay loop finished beyond mining. Salvage, refuel, repair, it doesn't fucking matter. It has to be something, one of those things. And my guess is it'll either be refuel or repair, simply because those are the things that they need to get done in Squadron 42. Lastly, they need to improve the experience where the players can have fun and continue to play the game beyond just, hey, I can play it at 60 FPS. There's plenty of games you can play at 60 FPS which are boring. So it's important to, I think, to do things like group missions, or at least if you're in a group and you get a mission, then the reward is shared throughout the entire group, or at least each individual person gets that same reward for completing it. Focus more on large organizational groups, and of course, in expanding the gameplay, more than 50 people per servers and those sorts of things. I think those are the four things I'd like to see from Star Citizen. I think we'll probably only see 2 of them, but that's just me. So with that, we're going to move on to the question and answer session. So if you guys are watching us here from YouTube, thank you so much for watching. This will be, I will probably leave a link in the description for this question and answer session on Twitch. For those of you guys who wanted to listen to it. So this is where we're going to end the recording. So thank you guys so much. Make sure you follow the Noobifier and Mitauchi. Mitauchi, when do you stream usually? What's your usual stream time?
That's a great question. It's kind of changed. I've been doing a lot of late night overnights from anywhere from like after 7 till about 7 in the morning lately. And then my normal stream times is usually around noon to 3, and then you can catch me usually after 7 p.m. at night, and I have no earthly idea when I end. Because so there was one time I didn't at all.
Yeah. So make sure you're following and watching Mitauchi. Make sure you are following and subscribe to Noobifier, who doesn't do streams yet, but he does do a lot of video content. So.
He's doing this one, Paul.
Yes, he's doing this one.
See?
Remarkably, I'm up to 1,056 followers on Twitch.
Twitch. I forgot about that.
I'm trying to be the first partnered person who never goes live.
Have you tried to be to do an affiliate? Have you tried to apply for affiliate program?
I don't think that would work. I think that would get full stop. There'd be something wrong with the planet if they let me be an affiliate.
All right, guys. So again, for you guys who are watching on the recorded, thank you so much. Catch us live 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. GMT. Thank you for stopping. For the rest of you guys, stick around for the question and answers. Hold on. There we go. Now we're going to do Q&A sessions. So for those of you guys who asked questions so far, we've got maybe a handful of questions. Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, questions, exclamation point, question in chat. We'll all bring you a link. Go to that link, put your name, put your question in the box, and I may or may not answer it. I can't guarantee answering all the questions. I'm just going to go through and find some of the best questions which are relevant.
The more personal and vulgar, the better.
Yeah. So the 3 questions, the first one's from Gildas Atter, who asks, how are you supposed to fit Sheep Citizen into this new camera layout? Well, some of these, I'm still going to have the old camera layout available, and some of these sessions will be just Q&A sessions. So we'll start, instead of doing discussion, we'll just go straight into question and answer, like maybe once a month. And we'll probably not have enough people for those to fill out the whole panel, so we'll just put in Sheep Citizen there for that. So Sheep Citizen will return for the Q&A sessions only. Carl of Sky, who asks, in your opinion, what is the optimal size for a Star Citizen org? I've seen anything from 1 to 10,000 members in an org. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think the optimal numbers are for Star Citizen org?
Are we talking present day, or are we talking about what we hope it will be down the road?
Let's do future.
Let's do both.
Future?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Future, I hope even a small org would be able to be 6 guys. 10 guys? Sure. It depends what you're doing. I think you should be able to scale your operations as small or as big as you want. You know what I mean? I think 6 guys could have fun. You could do salvaging as a company. You could do trade. You could even do little combat operations if you want to do that stuff. But I'd also like to see it accommodate everything up to major alliances and stuff, because I think the game has positioned with the law bubble technology, the way they want to do stuff, where you can operate in different spaces and be comfortable and not be overwhelmed by an enemy, because the AI will always supersede any player-based organization. Yeah. If you want to play in this gray area where you can still, you want to be a 5-man pirate team, I think you can jack some stuff. But if if somebody like Test or somebody comes over and wants to stomp everybody over somewhere, that they'll have to fight the UE Navy and probably not be really successful with ships that can just continually respawn javelins. So yeah. I'm just saying. So I think they're going to design zones for that scalability gameplay across the board. At least I hope that's their intention.
I also think that alliances will be a thing. I think you'll have smaller orgs which will band together as a loose confederation of defense against larger orgs as well. But I think there will if you're running like a Caterpillar, you could probably have just an organization, which is your crew. So it depends on what you need the organization for. If you want an organization that's going to hold territory and control an area, more the better. But it depends on where you are.
And it also depends on how AI reacts, right? Like the same thing I'm experiencing in Atlas. I probably have right now in one of my ports and one of my bases, I probably have 75 to 80 AI operating defenses, turrets, stuff like that. So I can maintain a personnel level there of only like 10 to 20 people and defend against a fleet of ships coming at me. So, I mean, it depends how these things interact. A lot of it's a big question mark, but I think depending on how you run things, you can run a large area with a small group.
Yeah, I agree. How about you, Noobifier? What do you think in terms of the future? What do you think the optimal size
This
is?
is going to sound elitist, okay? So don't freak out. It obviously depends on the quality of the people that you happen to have in your org, and that's not like whether or not they're fantastic gamers or whatever. It's the dedication. If you got 10,000 people that show up once a month, then that's not 10,000 people. That's not 10,000 people that could work together and know how to work together and train and become familiar with the same mission over and over again, and it becomes habitual so that when something happens, adverse condition, they automatically react and it's just fluid. So again, the numbers have been thrown out 100 to 200 for like a mercenary unit. If you wanted to be a mercenary unit that had aspirations of running larger operations, 4, 5, 600. If you want to start doing cap ship and maintaining that, I can't see that being economical below 1,000 people. And I'm talking 1,000 people that work together all the time. And then the general question is, can the game even support that? Will we have to break our org up into 10 little groups of 40 people that work together all the time and basically just have like Alpha Squad and Bravo Squad that just do their own independent little version of Star Citizen? Obviously, we want that grand scale operation. That's what we've been pitched. But again, this is the thing. What does a 10,000 person org, like, how is that even possible? I know in the military we don't even have 10,000 people units, right? They're not let that big because they're unmanageable. So how can you achieve that in a video game? So, again, I like the tenacity and the idea of a bulky org, but I can't see it making it into game effectively. I would rather start small and grow as the game progresses, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think the question about org size and that kind of stuff is one of those that's flexible and really does depend on what you do, where you're doing it, and how you're doing it. And I agree with Mitauchi that we'll have, depending on where you are, will probably determine the size of orgs. But also, like, I agree with you, Noob, that the bigger the better. You're gonna need the more people, the more warm bodies you have, the more space where you can control that kind of stuff. So, all right, next question comes from Aggro Knuckle, who asks, do you guys think there's a chance for the new flight model to feature lift in atmosphere by downward deflection of airflow?
Do you mean movable flight surfaces?
I think so.
I mean, the original Gladius had movable flight surfaces, and we've been told that if it looks like a plane, it's going to fly like a plane. So if that's lifting bodies are a thing on aircraft like ships, and I think those are your Gladius, your Saber, not necessarily limited to Hornet, etc. But that was the intent all along, is that you won't have drift. Like if you're flying a Xi'an Scout and it changes direction in atmosphere, it's because its thrusters are capable of doing that. Whereas if you turn and bank in a Gladius, that's the wing working. Hopefully that answers the question. It was a little bit too technical for me, I think.
Yeah. I think
I didn't understand fully.
In terms of lift, actual lift being calculated in the game, they said yes, lift is going to be calculated.
Yeah, lift and drag is supposed to be a thing, as far as I know. That.
And gravity and mass and inertia and all the things are going to be simulated.
Yeah.
And
don't confuse me with your science.
So, Aggro Knuckle, depending on what you're referring to, if you're referring to movable control surfaces and stuff like that, maybe. Otherwise, I don't know myself. I don't know that much about aerospace. Next question comes from Chris Apples Chris Apples has not really a question. He's making a statement about an idea he has for horde modes, like an AC horde mode, which is fine. It's what we like for ground-based combat and PvE online stuff. And it might be a great idea. if a mod can give Crisp the ability to post his link, that's fine with that. It's just an idea he posted on Reddit. But I wouldn't be able to. It's a long post he made, huge post. I just kind of scrolled through it and was like, okay, it's fine, sounds fine. But I think that the main question he's bringing up is has Arena Commander just been left to die? And I think the answer is until the new flight model's fished, yeah. They need to, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen before they can go back to Arena Commander, and it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, it's like everything else. If CIG knows they have a fix in the work that they think is going to change the dynamic of an aspect of the game or one of the modules or something, they literally do very minor touches to that model until that other thing comes, because they feel like it's a lot of redundant work that they'd be avoiding. That's what happened with, also you see it in things like Star Marine, right? There might be an issue or something that's happening there, but they know, hey, if we're changing this gun or we're changing the way this certain aspect works, we're just not really going to mess with that until that other thing comes in. Otherwise, we're trying to fix something that will be fixed when this other thing happens. So they do that on everything.
Yeah, and I do think that Arena Commander does need to get fixed before Squadron 42 comes out, because they need a multiplayer component for Squadron 42.
Dude, it needs to be fixed now.
It does, but
like I need it now, Chris. It's been a year.
But again, I assume the reason they haven't fixed it is because of the flight model.
Right, and that's why that's why I'm saying enough's enough. I need a flight model. I'm out of love with flying in Star Citizen. I need something.
I will also add, for Mitauchi's sake, since I know Mitauchi is also a Star Marine guy, is we need more complicated health mechanics, because we need the ability.
I like how you said complicated, not better, complicated.
Yeah, complicated. Let's be really complicated.
Let's
make it unplayable. So
unlimited grenades.
I want mini game on health, so I can't complete while I'm taking direct fire. It'd be perfect.
Well, the problem is right now is that there is no way you can knock someone down without just straight up killing them. And that has a lot to do with movement, it has a lot to do with health and how the health is calculated and the different kinds of things. There needs to be a little bit more variables in there in order to...
Well, there's also a whole debate, if you've seen, like, in the past when the subjects come up to, on, like, how does medical work? Are we still going to stick with the stim pack? Is a guy just going to come over like they're doing an old Battlefield and him with paddles and he's good? I mean, they don't want to do that. They want to make it player skill, so they want to try to introduce a mini game. But to be honest, little mini games, if they're over convoluted in an FPS genre, do not work. Like, oh, let me try to do that. Hold on, we need to do the mini game. They're shooting at me with and they're throwing hand grenades at me, but it just doesn't work because it's a faster natively thing. So that's why you have two extremes. You have either a real quick solution, or you play it like you would Rainbow Six, where if you're dead, that's it, you're out, and you know what I mean. So it's one of two. There is no in between. And Star Citizen and CIG is trying to figure out how to balance that, I assume, and that's why nobody's touching anything with Star Marine.
And I do want to mention someone. This is a line I've heard a lot, which is Arena Commander and Star Marine were only designed for testing, and the answer is that is incorrect. Arena Commander and Star Marine are their own games, but as testing grounds, right now they're ineffective testing grounds because they don't test what you actually do in the universe.
Yeah, and they're irrelevant to what happens in the universe, really, at this point, which is sad, but. And at most you get weapons testing. Like if you don't like a fire pattern of a weapon, that gun gets repetitiously tested inside Star Marine or a ship, or equipment and mechanics get tested repetitiously inside Arena Commander. But as for actual game content, there'll never be a full simulator of the game because you're not stuck in a fishbowl dogfighting, and you're also not stuck in a bubble trying to do FPS where you constantly respawn. You know, and I would love a single death mode inside Star Marine that you could practice that. Like, hey, I want to survive. Not like I'm just going to keep throwing bodies at the flag until we cap it. But it's never going to be a test bed until you have that.
Yeah, and it's great. And the thing about it is that when Squadron 42 releases, which says in Squadron 42, if you buy Squadron 2, just the pack, it says Arena Commander and Star Marine included in the package. And any viable single-player games need to have some kind of multiplayer experience, especially if you're using Arena Commander or using Squadron 42 as a gateway into Star Citizen. You're going to need some way for them to show what multiplayer is like, good. And especially for practicing. And I've talked many times about like the potential of Arena Commander and Star Marine beyond Star Citizen, but
like even chat saying that they said that they learned how to fly, and it was really hard to do in Arena Commander, but they have a free fly mode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't learn how to do anything inside Star Marine besides
And
go. Like
if you die in Arena Commander, you don't have to reclaim your ship. You just hit R.
Yeah.
Right?
And then you get to screw up all over again.
Yeah.
Like that's the most asinine thing I've ever
It
heard
would
of in
be-
my life. I would
yeah.
never take someone, a brand new citizen, I would never put them in PU. Never.
Mhm.
In the sphere. Put them in the sphere. They can crash into the big mining laser
Yeah.
and hit
Yeah.
R. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, don't do that again.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's whenever I hear someone ask me, hey, what should I do to learn Star Citizen? I always say, go to Arena Commander, pull up Free Flight, and learn how to learn the controls. It's a safe
I
way
would love
to
to be able
just
to say
crash
that for
into
Star
things.
Marine too. Like
Yeah.
Star Marine, like say they introduced the medical and all that stuff. Like, oh, let me teach you how to heal somebody. We have to shoot somebody. I mean, if it's single life, you're not going to be able to do that. They need that open, free test bed where it's just like an open space, like whatever happened to the shooting range, right? When there's supposed to be a shooting range where you can try out different guns before you spend all your money on them.
Mhm.
Like, none of that's ever happened. It's just like, oh yeah, it's good. Made Call of Duty in a little game mode. I get it, but it'd be nice for them to address that too, to make it both ways. So,
all right, we have one more question. So if anybody else has any more questions, feel free to ask them. We'll be if not, we'll end the Q&A sessions a little early. It's fine. But the next question comes from Whatbread, who writes upside down, saying Happy Australia Day, because it was Australia Day yesterday. The question is, what is the minimum needed for mechanics for proper bounty hunting, not just target elimination? So like catching someone and
a lot.
bringing them in.
Yeah. Law, economy,
the health
trade
system,
of some sort.
being able to knock somebody out.
subsumption in this particular game has to be there.
Mhm.
Player inventories.
My God, yeah. They're
I
like,
mean,
don't
restraints,
I mean,
which is
and that
don't even.
And if anything, that's the only part that like starts to discourage people. But I mean, I think if you have it on a roadmap and you have that information out there that promotes conversation and people understand, well, they're aware, they're addressing it, those type of things. So, but right now, you need a ton to do bounty hunting. I mean, there's no way to exchange anything with our player.
Yeah, if you can do something, even just player to player. But if you're doing something with the missions, you still need to be ability to track a target, disable a target. Then incapacitate that target, then capture that target, then restrain the target, then transport
That's even
the target.
bounty hunting on an NPC. That's not even.
Yeah,
that's not even bounty hunting a player.
No,
that's just
NPC. Yeah.
A player for me to bounty hunt a player, I need the ability to put him in the thing, and then he needs to magically become an NPC. Yeah. Or else that would give me leverage and I could effectively troll him by taking the scenic route.
Yeah.
And now he's like looking at the back of a hawk for 5 hours. He's unable to play the game. So that's the situation that can't exist. No. So we need a whack of different. You need legal, you need jail, you need all kinds of stuff that that is just not there. And I'm not trying to sound pessimistic.
But that's also beyond just the physical mechanics we already talked about, right? So you need the physical mechanics. Then you need all the supporting meta mechanics, and then you need everything to make it still fun, and then hopefully make it somewhat profitable so some people want to do it, and then integrate that into the reputation and law system that doesn't exist yet.
And then you also, with that reputation and law, you also need to have different tiers because someone going a bounty hunting for, a street thug on
capture alive or kill on sight should be a whole different metric, right? I mean, you shouldn't just murder somebody. It's like he wrecked in the ship or he stole a ship. Oh, just murder the hell out of him because if death really matters.
And honestly, bounty hunting and piracy are some of the more complicated mechanics for Star Citizen.
Yeah, they sound super easy until you
think about
into it.
Details. Yeah, there's a lot of complicated aspects that need to go into it. Just disabling the ship, we don't even have yet. Like the only way you could disable a ship right now is like I think
is to kill it.
Yeah,
you can. Well, it's pretty disabled, but you ain't salvaging crap out of that. It's like it's dead.
And the non-lethal mechanics require a health system because you need to have a system that you can have different states of unconscious, conscious, or disabled or whatever.
Sorry to be a buzzkill.
Yeah, it's going to be a while because they even removed the law system from 3.5 I think they removed it from the roadmap entirely. It's not even 3.6 or 3. So it could be in 3.7 or 3.8, but like that needs to be there in order for and the medical system. They both need to be there in order.
I mean, and I feel like when it comes into all those aspects, as we get into the law system stuff, that's the beginning of where you're going to see them going for before they get into bounty hunting and stuff. But there's so many can of worms you open with bounty hunting, and bounty hunting in order to not make it a trolley type griefy thing.
Yeah.
That it's so many mechanics involved. And you have to have the reputation law system, at least a shell of it in place before you can even think of doing it.
Yeah.
There's just no other way to do it.
And there's people bringing up in chat like the what should the gameplay features be for like
escape minigame. I mean, obviously, it's all the stuff.
Should be disrupting other players than to be disrupted yourself. You could take whole huge amounts of hours from people just because you're trolling them or because you're that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's kind of part of the game, but at the same time, we can't even have that discussion until you can even get to the point where you can have these gameplay mechanics in the game.
Well,
otherwise it's just theory crafting.
If you don't have player inventory, you can't carry stuff to steal stuff from anybody anyway, so more likely you weren't a criminal. You know what I mean? So it's like...
Yeah.
Or we have these endless inventories of stuff, and it's just... it's just... I don't know. Things.
Soon TM.
Yes, I think that's the last question. So unless you guys have any other questions, where this is, like I said, we're keeping these shorter to the point, making sure people enjoy them. And thank you guys for watching. Please do follow both of these guys. I can let Mitauchi get back to his addiction. I mean, Atlas.
Hey, it's got multi-crew functional in it. Everybody should try it sometime. It's got functional multi-crew where people matter.
Honestly, the funny thing is there's another game which is made by the guys who made Reign of Kings. Which I'm interested in, which is essentially like Reign of Kings ×4, but in the Wild West, because Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't coming out anytime soon. So I'm looking into that, which is something in that kind of same vein as Atlas, of just like survival but heavy combat focus and stuff like that. But beyond that, I might actually show up and jump on your ship just because I have nobody else. I've been playing on RP servers, but trying to get more fun,
Yeah, RP servers, it's been a hoot watching everybody play. I really enjoy all the content and the back and forth and stuff, but the lack of PvP in it or actual functional PvP, it's a little bit discouraging to me.
Yeah.
So you get both. Like, if you want the entertainment show, the big conversation stuff and all that stuff, the RP servers are amazing, and Dark Side RP is where it's at for that. 100%. So...
All right, guys, thanks again for showing up. We do these live every Saturday. We may take one Saturday a month off, but it's at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. GMT. And like I say every time, hope to see you guys again soon. But if I don't, hope to see you someday in the black. Before, one more thing. I will be live a little bit later tonight because I'm going to try out Anthem for a couple hours, just live on stream. So come by and check out on that. All righty. Later, guys.